ask everybody to check your decorum. It's on the back of your agenda. Mr. Smith, if you'd lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Father, thank you for this day. Enjoy here in Grayson County. Thank you for the board, for the commitment to the county, to showing up. Just help us tonight in this meeting to accomplish what we should.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda. So moved. Second. Got a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
First thing on the agenda is a public hearing. At this point, I will entertain a motion. It's a public hearing to receive public comment regarding special use permit application to construct a wireless communications facility on tax map number 66-A-102, which includes 244 feet self-supporting tower and ground-mounted related equipment. This does require board action, but this time I entertain a motion to go into public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Ms. Black, we're begging for brevity tonight.
Good evening. On June 17th, the Planning Commission reviewed an application from US Cellular for a special use permit to construct a 244-foot freestanding galvanized lattice communication tower on 63.9 acre tree farm in the Wilson District. The tower will support 4 carriers and Grayson County's E911 equipment. A variance was also requested for a 500-foot off-site residential setback requirement, with the proposed setback to this residence at 414 feet. The application was properly advertised. 3 responses were received from adjacent property owners, 2 during public comment and 1 regarding, one about, prior to the meeting, one about concerns about the power source going over or crossing the property. The commission found that the application was compliant with section 3-15 of the zoning ordinance under communication tower regulations, including all FAA and FCC and local environmental standards. The proposed tower will enhance the wireless coverage in the underserved area and support emergency services. The Planning Commission sent a letter to the Board of Supervisors recommending approval of the special use permit, subject to the following conditions. 1, that the Board of Supervisors consider and approve the requested 414-foot residential setback variance. 2, that they're compliant with VDOT's access requirements. 3, that the completion of all necessary permits and inspections is done. That they maintain co-location capacities and they adhere to the FAA's lighting and fencing requirements, or our fencing standards. So tonight, this is the action from the board is to either approve, modify, or deny the Planning Commission's recommendation and conditions. Do you have any questions for staff?
No, ma'am. We have no public speakers at this time. I'll entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing.
So.
Second. Motion second, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
There was Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Rebels has.
Can he do that out of public hearing?
Yes, it's in conjunction with.
Yeah, it's fine.
This is part of the discussion, Tom, I do ask for brevity.
Brevity. 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Number 1, don't forget, a priority for this system is 911. tower locations, tower design was built around our requirements for 911 and the best connectivity we could provide. US Cellular then said, we'll make ours work. And I think out in the public, some people have forgotten that. And I think that's a really key point. There's also a rumor floating around that unless you have a US Cellular phone, you can't use these towers. And that's false. You can use them just like you use any other tower because US Cellular has roaming agreements with all the major vendors. So there's no difference than when you leave here and go somewhere else and you're using your phone, but you might be using a Verizon tower or some other vendor's tower. They asked for a variance on the setback. I will tell you that the way the towers are designed, if that tower were to begin to fall, it is engineered to break into 4 pieces. It will never hit the ground as a solid tower. And literally the engineers are willing to certify that it will fall within the 100 square feet fenced in area. So I think that's, again, justification for why having a little bit closer variation would be sufficient because of the design of the tower. Last but not least, US Cellular has agreed that if all the permitting is completed by, October, November, they're prepared to start building all 3 towers at the same time. So we initially thought it was going to be one right after the other, which meant we'd be building towers into the spring. But they're going to bring 3 crews in and start simultaneously putting the towers up, and it'll take them about 61 days to build a tower. So 2 minutes and 9 seconds, Mr. Chairman.
Awesome. All right, we have a motion and a second to come out of public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. I'm also aye. Entertain a motion to approve or deny this special permit.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors approves special use permit application 2025-0289 submitted by US Cellular for the construction and operation of a 244-foot communication tower at 3807 Grassy Creek Road in the Wilson District. The proposed use is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance and will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment that I'm excited after decades of effort that the enhanced public safety communication is beginning to look like a reality. So
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I'm also aye. Is it roll call? That's not a roll call, is it? We can do a roll call.
Oh, yeah,
That's just to approve the permit, right?
you can if you want to.
No.
It's just special use. Yeah. Next up is, Mr. Wickham.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Tom.
Yes, sir. I don't want to stay, I might talk to you.
All right, and my name is Scott Wickham, partner in charge of the county's audit, here to go over results of the 2024 audit. So we did wrap it up in early May. It was delayed to quite a few challenges in the county itself. As well as the changes during 2024 and 2025. So that caused some of the delay. But here to give the results. I'll be brief. I'll let you go through it. But I do want to give you some information. I know that data is a year old now, but still important to know the results of the audit. So if you follow along, I also pass out a handout here. I'll probably stick to the handout unless you have questions on the detailed report. So the first report that we issued in the opinion is the independent audit report, which is the opinion on the financial statements. The county has again received an unmodified opinion or unqualified, which is the best opinion you can get. That means that the numbers presented in the report are truly accurate. So it's a credit to the staff of having good records and good paper records as well to support those items. So good job of having a modified opinion. The section of the report is the management discussion and analysis. That's a very general section of the report. It does have some comparison data in there. Gives you some high points, and it's a good section to read and get an overall picture of the changes during the year. Exhibit 1 is the statement of deposition. So that's a balance sheet, full accrual, big picture accounting, if you will. That includes all of the assets, including infrastructure, buildings, and things, and all of the debt, including long-term debt. Exhibit 3 is a balance sheet. That's a modified accrual, so that's a short-term cash basis plus short-term receivables less short-term payables balance sheet. Exhibit 9 is a statement of cash flows, which is primarily based on the PSA. I don't have a lot of detail on that, but I did want to point out during 2024, the PSA did show a cash flow operational loss of $142,000. So something to monitor in your budgets is that PSA fund did not do very well. So make sure you're watching this. The other opinions will be issued include the gas opinion, which is the government auditing standards and state specifications. We do have 2 findings reported in there. And then the third report we issued is the uniform guidance report. The uniform guidance speaks to the CIFA and the federal testing. That came back clean with no issues noted. A lot of that was on the COVID funds that you all have received, and also the school board have received during the year. Those findings that I did mention, hit those briefly. Similar to prior year, material weakness reported for proposed audit entries. As we do our audit, if we find accruals that are missed or things like that, if they're significant, we have to report a finding that we did have. So common in localities, and you all did have that in prior years as well. The second finding, I want to make sure that all expenditures are appropriated. Some of the funds, other than the general fund, did not have appropriations to cover all of the expenditures. So I want to make sure that the budget is tracking. And then the third other recommendations we have, we also issued a letter of management comments, we call them, or audit recommendations. These are items that are non-material non-compliance or best practice type items. And those are in this handout towards the back. So I don't plan to go over in detail, but they are there if you have questions. All right, so financially, where are you all at as of 2024? The 5-year trend was government-wide. As I mentioned, government-wide, big picture includes everything, all assets and all debt. Across the bottom, you have your current ratio, so 4 is pretty strong for the county. Moving to the 5-year trend of the general fund. This first page here is the revenues. You can see over the 5 years, property taxes have grown just over 5% per year. Intergovernmental revenues have grown almost 13% per year. We do expect a significant drop off in that with the COVID funds falling out. Also with the changes in Washington, we're seeing fewer grants available and decreases in ongoing grants. So I want to make sure you all are aware of those changes and look in your budget accordingly for those changes as well. So, but overall revenues have grown at 8.5% or so over those 5 years. The next page is the same general fund expenditures 5-year trend. Operating expenditures have grown just under 10% per year, and total expenditures at 9.5% or so. A couple of highlights to point out there. Public safety did have some increases in jail costs. Also, some vehicles were purchased during the year. The health and welfare had a significant increase in CSA expenditures during the year. Debt service had a drop off, mostly because of in 2023, you'll see a significant increase where the school board prepaid some debt and then did not prepay that debt in 2024. So that it's kind of a timing issue. That's where that shows up there. So for overall, we increased by 9.5%. So you do see that those expenses are outpacing the revenues. So I want to watch that. On the next page, you have revenues by year, by type of revenue. Kind of gives you a visual of the same information. As you can see, more than 46% or so of the revenues are property taxes for the county. Similar pie chart on the next page for operating debt and expenditures. You see the various sections there. Public safety is about 26%. Education is about 25% of the overall general fund budget. county reserves, one of the more important pieces is to look at where you are financially. I talked about the expenditures are outpacing the revenues slightly. You want to monitor that to make sure you don't get into a problem with your fund balance. One of the best measurements for that is unassigned fund balance as a percentage of operating expenditures, and that's on the line, purple line towards the bottom there. The county is at 18.12%, which is down from 2 years ago at 23%. So that general fund unassigned fund balance, which is a fund balance available to you all, has declined over the last few years. You'll use some for projects and various things. GFOA recommends at least 2 months, so that's a minimum. And that's a national organization. There's a very broad minimum of 2 months at 16.67%. So you did meet that. But several things to think about with that is you all have June tax collections. So it would be higher. It's kind of like you get your paycheck and then the next day your bank account should be higher than it would be later on in the week. Also, if you don't have your capital plan fully funded, something like that to think about, that would be considering your unassigned fund balance if it's not fully funded. Another item is your tax base. Some localities can generate taxes easier than others. So think about those things as you're looking at that as unassigned fund balance. So just want to give you a point of reference there as well. Moving on to the county debt balances. 5-year trend of debt here. The one big change is your new broadband loan jumps out there. Also want to point out this is financial debt. So this is sick leave and other items beyond just your bonded debt. So I do want to point that out. But you are almost half of the state average. So you are in pretty good shape as far as debt per capita goes there. Well below the state average. The significant other long-term obligations is related to pension liability, both for the county and the schools, which is detailed a little bit on the next page. The state hires an actuary to come up with those amounts, and they recommend liability be recorded at 6.75% to be in compliance with standards. You can see the difference if they do better on investments or worse on investments. So I want to point that out that those are significant estimate and impact your financial statements. No change to prior year other than the change in the actual calculation from the actuaries. I always want to point it out because it's significant. Upcoming standards from GASB. We've been working with the staff on statement 101, compensated absences. So this will change the calculation a little bit. We expect the liability to increase a little bit, but it won't really change reporting your daily activities or the function of anything. It will change some of the calculations and some of the reporting in the financial statements. Statement 102, probably not a big impact. Statement 103, when it was created, was supposed to have sweeping changes and simplify the report for everyone to really understand. But then they couldn't agree on what simplified report was, and then COVID hit, and then it delayed, and then they kind of punted it. So it's a minor change. So there will be a third column added to the budget to actuals, some verbiage changes, a little bit of changes in reporting of non-operating income, but not nearly the drastic sweeping changes that we So overall, the audit process went really well. As I mentioned, we were delayed getting started, but I think we received the files in March or so. And once we had that, we got rocking and rolling. The staff did a great job of getting us the files. We've done a lot of preliminary work before that too, so all the departments did a job of getting us stuff on time. Which went really well. So we do have a couple pages of recommendations to work on improving. But otherwise, still in pretty good shape financially. There's something to watch that budget. But, pretty good report. Are there any questions?
You did say that the recommendations for individual departments you forwarded on to those departments.
Yeah, I forwarded them on to the county finance, social services finance, and the school finance.
School.
So they all have them. Hopefully, district them to the individuals.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Hash is unable to be with us tonight, so we are gonna skip that. We have no old business, new business. We have 2 board appointments. We're gonna table the one to, well, somebody has to make a motion to do that.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we table the emergency services appointment
on that.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We do have,
Yes. Yes.
She's
willing to serve.
she is willing to continue to serve. She just doesn't want to be chair. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Take a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve Amelia Glenn Waller to assume the advocacy board.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. No county administrator's report, no supervisor's time. We have no closed session.
Number one. That's our request for public hearing.
Request public hearing on Grayson County Public School amendment. We just have to request to,
We just have to approve having the public hearing.
okay? Just need that in the form of a motion.
Yes, sir. Second.
We got a motion, second, any discussion?
What's this about?
The school, submitted a true up or a budget adjustment that exceeded 1% of their overall budget.
And this was to do with state funding that we didn't know about when it was approved, is that correct?
Yes.
They have more money coming in.
Coming in than they expected.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm also aye. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm also aye. Ms. Linda, right